Earthlings, we're live. Welcome to the
Hello,
Animal Rights Show.
everyone.
Nella will be here soon, but
that's
running a
okay.
little bit late. So
She's on her way.
yeah, I'm going to say that because that would win the first question. Where's Nella? Where's Nella?
Yeah. Well, like the
So
three
people, as you
musketeers,
can
aren't we?
see-
We can't be seen without the three of us together, really, on the show.
No. Joined by the hip and all that kind of stuff. So we've got a special guest panelist, as you can see, Denis the Menace. So, hey, Denis, was you called Denis the Menace at school?
No, that's the guy with two N's. There's only one N in my name.
Oh, right.
Yours is like the French spelling, isn't it? Denis, like Blondie's son.
Yeah,
Denis. With your eyes so blue. Have you got our blue eyes, Denis?
And I'm not going to repeat all the nicknames I ever had.
Well, tell us the worst one. And so, Wendy, you can guess what I was called at school. Again, from the comic world.
Oh, Roger Ramjet?
No, earlier than that. Roger the Dodger.
Roger the Dodger.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So,
Roger Ramjet, that's a bit more
people,
after your time.
Oh,
so Deb's still saying, "Where's Nella?" Deb might not have heard us. She's on her way, Deb. We're not sure. She's delayed somewhere.
Oh, right, yes. There's always one spoiling the show. So the best interactive chat is on my YouTube channel, folks. So if you're tuning in on Facebook, we will be able to see your comment, but you won't be able to see if anybody answers it apart from us, of course. And then in terms of comments in general, we don't charge for them, so comment away. So we should do a few hellos, maybe, Wendy.
We're saying hello to Deb and Carolyn and Felix and Jeremy the Ape and Anne so far. Hello, everyone. Good to, and Joanna. Sorry, Joanna. Lovely to see you all. Say hello if you're here and you want to say hello, basically.
Oh, the ape's here. Hello, ape.
The ape is here in the house.
All the apes have arrived. So, normally we start off with a topical piece of news coverage. So what we've got this time, Denis, is this. I don't know if you've seen this. This is well. Let me organize that so I can see the headline first. Whoops, where am I going here? Boom. Right. Okay. Try and do that again. So the London School of Economics announces a new centre to study animal sentience. A lot of vegans have been welcoming this, Denis.
Yeah, on the face of it, you probably would welcome any attention to animals and sentience, but when you drill into it a little bit, you see that they're heading in the wrong direction. I mean, we probably would have said, is it necessary? You know, sentience has been well proven. There's been lots of research on that, and it seems to be heading towards welfare. So it looks like it could be an industry initiative. The London School of Economics, I don't know if they're known for their humanitarian or animal rights activity. I don't think so, not that I've heard of. It may well be though. But yeah, this is a feature of the animal agriculture industry, that they will recognize animals are sentient. This was done in the 2009 Lisbon Treaty in Europe, in the EU. And then they went on to say at the last minute there was a clause added because of heavy lobbying from industry, from big ag, pharmaceutical industry, the biotech industry. It's called Clause 13, which stated something like this: notwithstanding industry norms, notwithstanding religious practices and cultural traditions in each member state. So in other words, business as usual. Yeah, we know the animals are sentient, but let's keep doing what we've always been doing. So that seems to be a bit like that as well, that it's going to sell welfare a little bit more and not help animals, but help the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that, didn't you, Wendy? You said when you first saw this, you said, well, everyone knows they're sentient by now, surely, right?
Yeah, and it just seems like no matter what we do, how much proof do we need of sentience? How much proof do we need of that our fellow animals have emotional lives, they have family, friends, that they feel that their lives matter to them? How much proof do we need? And even when we get the proof, it doesn't seem to change much at all. Like Denis says, it's business as usual. And so why do we keep jumping through all these hoops? To what effect? It doesn't seem to be having any effect in terms of what we would like to see, which is respecting these people as individuals, the individuals that they are. And yeah, it just seems to head more down. And what are they going to do? Oh, because they're sentient, we won't treat them as badly before we use and kill them. I don't know. It does seem to be heading down that welfare road as it usually does.
Yeah, it begs a movement question, though, doesn't it? Because obviously the animal farming interests are going to do what you said, Denis, is that they're going to interpret the idea that they're dealing with sentient individuals in welfare terms. But there's no reason why the movement should do that, and yet it does. It confuses me on that.
Well, I think if we all think about our timeline, mostly on Facebook, 95% of what's coming down, and probably more, is about welfare one way or another. It's very hard to discern, and you're always pulled towards it. It seems to be where the most noise is. There's not a whole lot about animal rights. I would say we should maybe try and get out in front of it, but it seems to be where most of the activity is, and it brings people's attention to it because it's, hey, look at this over here. And then when you talk about these are the initiatives, these are the things that can happen, and yet you realize, okay, well, it's only going to be welfare. And people are still under the impression, and some of our colleagues in activism, that animal welfare actually does help animals, and there's no evidence for that. We see agriculture expanding as an industry. Certainly, there is an uptake in veganism, in people going plant-based for climate, in what you would call, I suppose, first world countries or the Western society. But the expansion in the agriculture industry is happening in Asia and in newly affluent countries everywhere. So as that's happening, welfare has been used as a selling point, and it's been used as a selling point everywhere. It's very hard to get it rights across in that. And then anywhere it's ever checked out about welfare, and any farm is ever visited by the animal rights people that go in there and have a look around, it's always a dreadful story. So we know it's not happening. We know there is no welfare. It's not helping animals. And yet our colleagues in animal activism seem to persist with the notion it is. I think it's we want it to be okay, but it never is okay. It has to be animal rights. That has to be what we aim for. That would be my wish, to see more of a unified approach for rights.
V agrees, and I definitely agree. It must be about liberation and animal rights. And what shocks me, and again, going back to people trying to prove sentience, is shouldn't we really just assume sentience? Like, we share the planet with lots of other species, different individuals in different bodies, but we don't really, I think we know deep down that they're sentient. I mean, I go back to Descartes and think Descartes has a lot to answer for in his, our fellow animals are just machines and just responding to instinct and all of that, because I'm sure deep down we know and we feel we have interactions with our fellow animals, and we sense that in the ways that matter, they're different to us. In some ways they're similar to us, but we know that they feel and they have these emotional lives. And it's why we're trying to always assume that anyone doesn't have these things until we can prove it. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Like the whole innocent until proven guilty. Shouldn't we just assume that they're sentient and actually just respect them as individuals rather than or we've always got to prove. Like, let's just see. We'll carry on just treating these individuals, you know, with disrespect and using them, and they're here for us as resources and to commodify until we find a reason not to. Shouldn't it be the other way around? It's like, why are we as vegans having to prove this all the time in the movement? We have to try to convince people and prove, you know,
like the doubt
value. Sorry, Roger?
You mean like benefit of the doubt, at least?
Yeah. Why are we the ones having to prove this all the time? Like, why is it not the other way around? Prove to me why we shouldn't respect these individuals. Prove to me why we should be commodifying them. Like, until we kind of tackle human supremacy and speciesism at its roots, this welfare stuff and all this sentience, and it's not going to make a dent, because humans always go back to, oh yes, but they're here for us. We're still superior. No matter how sentient they are, we are superior. We are exceptional. So I went on a bit of a rant then, didn't I? Sorry.
Well, it wouldn't be Damn Right show if you didn't, Wendy.
No, this is true. Have to have them now and again.
I think on the expansion of animal agriculture, that we should have a look at that as well, that the animals that aren't considered this is the impact on the free living animals, wild habitat loss, which is a feature of animal agriculture, and how much land it takes to feed the amount of animals that are in there now. And okay, there's grass, there's hay, there's silage and all the rest of it, but then there's all the grain that's grown. Here in Ireland, we're importing 3.3 million tons of grain every year now from mostly Argentina and Brazil. So that's a direct hit on the pristine rainforest over there. It's also human lives are being lost. Indigenous land defenders are losing their lives. There was even a program on today on RTE, a documentary with the bank holiday. They changed their schedule, and they're talking about palm oil and how that's affecting it, and it's moving indigenous communities back into poorer land areas. But in Brazil alone, there's been at least 2,000 indigenous land defenders have been murdered, and in some cases where journalists went out there to investigate, they too disappeared, mostly in a time of Bolsonaro. So I think as animal rights activists, we really need to incorporate the effect of animal agriculture on obviously the animals that are caught up in it, the farm animals themselves, and then the impact that it's having, wild habitat loss, and the impact it's having on humans. There's no doubt there's a good spirit of well-being towards animals in general society, but it's trying to awaken that and get them to realize that it's not enough to say, I love animals, I care about animals. I think that's where we need to focus our mind in trying to bring around change. And this thing about sentience, we really have to say animals are sentient, and that's not an excuse to treat them, with welfare. It's just it's the reason why we shouldn't be using them. It's it's ethically wrong.
I want to ask a question back to sentience, because this has changed over time. Because if you think back to the Andy Atkinson, he kind of re-enhanced the 1989 debate that was done, and Tom Reagan was in it, and all that, and so that's on my YouTube channel and also Andy's one, and it was at the British Institute. And it was a big thing at the time, watched by 1 million people. And Richard Ryder was asked, where do you draw the line? Who's sentient, who's not? Now, in the day, this was like the late 80s, they were kind of thinking in terms of, well, the ones who are definitely sentient, we're talking about mammals, fishes, but then they were talking about, well, what about when we go down into insects? And so what Ryder said was he put the line at squid and what he called intelligent octopus, right? Now, I think modern day activists would probably try to argue that insects are sentient. So in terms of sentient rights, does that kind of create a problem?
Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, sentient. Thanks a million.
Over to you, Denis.
Right, so I got this. Okay, so anyway, yeah, in terms of sentient, I mean, plants are considered sentient in terms of being alive in that respect. Maybe instead of focusing on the animals, we should focus more on people and wonder why they're not reacting. It's wrong to be using these other animals. It's not helping us as a civilization. It's not moving us on. It's not helping our spirituality. There's a lot of angles we can come at to reinforce animal rights and to try and awake the general public. I think that moving from protest to outreach and information, that can help as well. That's where we should put our energies and try and bring everybody else along with us on that. And on the sentience, if you think about human beings, we cherish everybody regardless of their intelligence quota, regardless of attributes or personal situations. It should be the same with animals, with other creatures, just respect. In terms of how they are the same as us, it has to be said, is how they feel, their physical fear, their ability to feel physical pain and their ability to feel fear. And that has to be the case. And I think that should be enough. Going into a heavy debate about it all the time, just kind of putting yourself on the back foot. And as Wendy said earlier, we should be getting the other people to prove where they're coming from and why they're doing it. And that's not what they do. It's like a lot of disinformation. They only have to sow the seeds of confusion. They don't actually have to prove that they're right. So how about that for an answer?
Well done, Denis. I knew there was a reason you were here.
You can tell you're in a political party.
You should go into politics,
Yeah, well, that's necessary as well. I mean, are politicians sentient? That's another good question.
Oh, funny. Nealis here, but I'm trying to get. Hang on. Okay, we've got two. We've got two Nealis now. There we go. I think she's having a few problems coming in. It's interesting, actually, just going back to where do we draw the lines. I read a book last week for book club, and it's called Multi-Species Assemblies, and it's really interesting, and it comes from that kind of ecofeminist perspective of there are no lines really when we all share the planet and we all depend on plants. Without plants, basically none of us are even can exist. Without trees, we don't have oxygen, kind of thing. We all depend. We're all in a web and a network. And actually, the multi-species assemblies, the idea is that working towards a place where in communities we all have a voice, like even entities and individuals who might not appear to have a voice, as we say they're voiceless, they're not, but it's trying to listen and learn, and everyone affected by decisions should have a voice within those decisions, whether that's a non-human animal, whether that's a river, a mountain, a forest, trees in the forest. It's all these things, who's affected by what we do and our decisions. And I love that kind of idea as well, because although it's not strictly like rights, in a way it kind of respects everyone's inherent value in the world, and having a say in how communities are built, and how decisions affect each of us. I found it just really, really interesting. But there would be no real lines of like no one's important, because I think once we start drawing lines, we're still creating hierarchies. And part of the problem is that we have hierarchies at all. And that's where human supremacy comes from, isn't it? We put ourselves atop this imaginary hierarchy, and everyone else is underneath us. Whereas I think we need to be more anarchical and smash hierarchies and not create these lines of superiority and inferiority. thought I'd bring that up. Hey, Nella, are you with us now? Can you hear us?
Hello. Yes, hello guys. I've been backstage for a long time, but for some reason you could not hear me or see me. And
no, your screen was blank,
anyway,
actually.
Oh, okay.
But welcome. Nice to see you.
I'll put rant number 2.
Rant number 2. That wasn't a rant, Roger. You can have it as a rant if you like.
Yeah. So, a program question, because we did have another couple of news items, but I mean maybe we should skip them now, because I know that Wendy, you got a big list of questions. You're going to get a real grilling here, Denis. So gird your loins, mate.
No, I was just said the same thing in a message. I don't think we need the other articles now.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
I agree. We're on the same wavelength, Doc.
Right. Okay.
I have.
Before we start though, Nella, I was going to say, Nella, have you got anything? We're only just going past the first article, but
I have a question. Hello, everyone. Hello, Denis. I'm really sorry I was late. I've had technical problems, and if we are done with the articles, I have a question for Denis. Unless you want to go for some of them first.
No, we're going to scrap them.
Okay. So can I, go ahead with my question then? I was at work today at the vet clinic, and I was telling the personnel there about Denis and the party and what's happening in Ireland, and they were very interested. So a couple of them asked the same question. They said, it's easy to assume that all the members of the party agree on issues about non-human animals, but what happens with everything else, like economy, education, whatever a political party has to decide on?
Yes, that's a good question.
Do you decide on on the line of the party? Yes.
Yes, that's a good question. A lot of the animal political parties, when they started off first, I think it was in the Netherlands, was the most successful. This is in Europe, I'm thinking. And that was what was leveled at them, that they were just a one-issue party, and that was in a demeaning way. And from that, then they spread themselves out. And we did that in terms of, we advocate for animal rights and human rights, and also climate justice, fast and fair transition, stopping the climate chaos. And the more and more we drilled into, for myself, I'm really new to all this. I only went vegan in 2017, and I worked as a climate activist first for a year or two. And then in around 2019, I became an animal activist, and it was just to help animals. And then you discern and you start learning about things, and then you realize that veganism is a social justice movement for all. So that covers all the things that you mentioned there. It's the answer to all the ills. And I think that's one thing we should do in our animal rights advocacy, is get the message across about veganism, and not let it slip in the way. And I'm in no way now am I being disparaging to vegetarians, but the vegetarian movement went from being, proto-veganism in the early part of the 20th century. By mid-20th century, it had slipped to just being regarded as a diet. I'm sure they had their ideology behind all that, but I think that's what we have to guard about with veganism, that we keep it up front, that there's a vegan interpretation for all the ills, and certainly for the betterment of community, the redistribution of wealth, social issues, that there's a socialist and a social a people-centered approach to it. You see that with some people who are vegan, who would tend towards right-wing. They don't want to touch human rights. And I think above all those intersectional issues, we have to prioritize animal rights. And if there's an issue with competing rights, there are some hot topics. It could be pro-life, it could be, pro-choice. These can be very hot topics here in Ireland. and it's very hard to get unification on it. So in a lot of cases, we have to say that people would be guided by their own conscience on all those. But generally speaking, I think we would tend to be towards socialism. And what's good for animals, and especially in this, the idea of looking after climate and looking after the environment, which will help animals, that also is good for humans. And I think the two causes are so wrapped up together. We recently launched a petition, and it came from the notion that there's not enough plant-based food in hospitals in Ireland. Sometimes you're limited to very, very little, if they give you anything at all. So we're petitioning the Minister for Health here to produce a prioritised plant-based in hospitals, in the cafeteria, on the wards, and there's a good few people signing it. And this is to help the health of the nation. So this is the thing that we need to get across, that veganism is good, that animal rights is good for people. It's good. It will save money in the long run. Everything. The message is sound, and it's really it is a cure to a lot of ills, or to most ills, I would say. So I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, Nella.
Does. Thank you.
Yeah, Denis. That answer really disappoints me. You said you're not going to have a go at the vegetarians. I was looking forward to that. Go on, have a go. Go on. Swear at them. Swear at them. Go.
I'll try to keep a good vibe here.
Spoken by a true politician, definitely. And my question, Denis, my first question to you, I've got a few.
It's being recorded.
But I was curious as to when you co-founded with your colleagues SRI, Sentient Rights Ireland. What made you create a political party as opposed to setting up an advocacy organisation? What were you kind of hoping to achieve with that, rather than just an organisation?
That's a very good question, and it stems from the fact that we don't have political ambition for ourselves. I don't want to be president of the country or anything like that, or I don't necessarily want to be a public representative. It comes from that we're using politics as another platform. It could be a poster, it could be a flyer, it could be a webinar. Politics for us is just in a time of elections, you get on more TV shows, you get on more radio shows than you would in the normal time. And when we do demos now, we've moved away from protest. So if you're a non-political party, it's much harder to get that press coverage. And this is the oxygen that we need. We need to get our message out more and more mainstream. And this kind of came home to me, certainly during COVID, where we were mostly in an echo chamber talking to each other. And while some of or all of the animal oppression industries kept going, the food, and sometimes there was sport going on behind closed doors, we couldn't get out on the street to demo. So this is politics. Using animals in politics, or not using animals, but fighting for animals in politics, gives us that edge that grassroots organisation wouldn't. I mean, we are grassroots, and when we look at the makeup of our membership, our members come from a variety of backgrounds involved in animal activism, one way or another, since the 1970s. It could be animal rescue, it could be veganism, it could be direct action. It could be other groups, and they're still in the original groups. So we're happy with that, and we try and help out those groups when we can individually. But as a collective, when we come together, it's always about animal rights, and you have more of a chance to be listened to as a political party. So that's why we went for that decision. We chose it. At the first meeting, and there was 6 of us there, it was actually mentioned that we shouldn't be a political party, we should go grassroots, and it has come up once or twice since. And we are open to conversation, and we discuss things openly. So it's always there as an option, but I think politics is the way to go. That's the one way that you can get your message out more for the animals than if you were a grassroots organisation.
Interesting. Do you think you'd ever have to sort of dilute your message or make compromise in the fact that you are a political organisation in terms of getting, you know, a certain message out there that will be put out there and heard? Do you have to dilute things?
I don't think so. I think, you know, if I mean, there is another animal political party in Ireland, and they're, you know, unashamedly animal welfare. And when we put up 6 candidates in the local elections, in the last round of elections, which is 2024, our candidates did just as well as theirs, you know. So it's not. There was, I think, where the if you look at other political parties in other countries, where animal parties were very successful was in Holland or the Netherlands, and that seems to be due to the fractured nature of their political setup there, and that it's not a two-party state. You know, it's not like the UK where it's either the Conservatives or Labour. Now, I know that's changing recently, sadly, but they were successful, and then some parties were animal rights. That was the case in the UK, and then they weren't successful in elections. So I think there was to press the panic button and said, oh, we'll be welfare. So really, whether a party is called animal welfare, animal justice, or for the animals, they do tend to go for welfare issues, and they seem to be, you know, considered to be easy to get there. But we did a case study here on the campaign against hair coursing in Ireland, and it's been going on since the 60s, and it's still, they're no closer on that. And my point would be that activating for animal rights is no harder than activating for, you know, something for an animal or something for a single issue. There's less chance of you getting a single issue, I feel, than there is of getting animal rights. I think that's where we should keep it, and I don't in any way envisage us dropping our demands, our advocacy to water the whole thing down and make it any less. In fact, we're spreading out and coming at it from, I mean, it's always usually the consumer end. We're going into looking at farmers and trying to get farmers to change, you know, transformation, looking at case studies from other countries. It can be done, and I think that's what we need to do to change the line of our advocacy from just the consumer to all the different areas that it can be done in. That's where we're thinking anyway.
Yeah, that transformation project, because it's taking place in North America, in the UK as well. It's really taking off, actually, isn't it? We have got an article. I don't know if we don't probably need to show the article, Roger, anyway. But it is really interesting how
good, because I
helping. Oh, that's fine. We don't really need to see it, but it is helping farmers to transition, isn't it? And it's taking them through a process where, if a farmer wants to transition from so-called farming fellow animals, I hate that term even, and transitioning to plant-based crops, they actually take them through a whole process of sort of looking at what they already do, what their premises will allow or what their land will allow, how they can do it, is it feasible? They give assistance, and there's some really successful stories of transformation out there. I think that's such a good way to try to, from the other side, like you say, not the consumer side, but from the actual people who are making a living out of using fellow animals, but maybe don't see a way out, and they're stuck in this tradition and this habit and this that's their livelihood and all of these very difficult things. It's looking at it from a very different angle. I think that's a really positive step, and you're doing that in Ireland as well now.
Yes, that's it. And I think what we have in veganism and the whole food plant-based diet, I mean, it's the best thing there is. And we don't need to embellish what we're saying, and we don't need to go soft on it either, and stay away from veganism. People say, oh, veganism is not a popular word. it's very popular with vegans, or it should be anyway. We need to promote ourselves with confidence, is what I would say. And I think, for me anyway, looking at it, I went vegan in 2017, and the range of products that are available in shops and in the mainstream shops, you know, the supermarkets, which were previously only available in health food. So it is swinging into the mainstream, and I think more and more people are becoming aware. And we need to tie in others. We did an email campaign early on where we contacted a lot of groups like the Women's Council of Ireland, the Students' Union Council, then the Secondary School Council, the Students' Council of Ireland, and all the different groups that would be, you know, like trade unions that would collectively make up a sort of the fabric of society. And what we were trying to do was to tie in something with each group that connected their interest to animal rights. For example, when we wrote to the women's groups, the Women's Council of Ireland, and other women's groups as well, we talked about the violence on your plate and the violence in society, and the research that's been done on that in other countries, notably America, where they connect the two. And that's something we've always said. And I mean, it's been said by the great thinkers down through the years, you know, going right back to Pythagoras, that the people, the violence that's on the plate is in society. And I think that's one way. You know, there's only so many natural empaths in the world, so we have to connect up two things and trying to bring everybody along that way, and just show them that this message of animal rights is beneficial to humans, and connect everything together and get that message across.
Yeah, I agree. And just going back to the whole language of this, if you don't mind, because we're very hot on the language on this show. We do like to look at language. And I was saying I don't like the word farmed, even not just farm animal. Like I would never say a farm animal, because that's not their job. That's not who they are. That's us giving them a role. But even saying farmed, and I think Jeremy was saying that here, he finds it it's a euphemism. I think you say that somewhere, Jeremy. Yeah. Farmed is also a euphemism. I don't like saying animals who are farmed, because even that doesn't really describe their experience there, does it? Farmed is very, very euphemistic. They're being used, they're being exploited, they're enslaved, they're being coerced, they're being tortured, often they're being murdered. You know, there's all these things that are going on, which is definitely not explained by the word farmed. So yeah, I think even using that word, would others agree here?
Well, absolutely. I mean, oppression and exploitation come to mind. And it's interesting when you're talking to people from the industry, they would say, oh, they're stock, you know, they like to talk about them as livestock. Their language is important to them as well. And you see that in different countries where the word meat is you know, for the alternatives. Maybe even not think of what we're offering as the alternatives, think of them as, you know, to try and change and take ownership of words, and not have to, you know, face court cases about what does the animal agriculture industry own in terms of language. I think that's very important that you brought that up, Wendy. They don't own any words. Maybe they might have the market covered on cruelty, the market covered on oppression and exploitation, but in terms of meat and all that, and milk, I think that we shouldn't move back a bit at all. We should be upfront and debate that point on it. And language is important. I think if you look at climate as well, everything like coal and oil are referred to as fossil fuel, and then when they come to gas, they take the industry word, this liquid natural gas, and that's kind of where you lost the argument, is on the language alone. So maybe we should take a leaf out of the climate activist book, and exactly as you say, use words that are more descriptive of what is happening to the animal, rather than the usual words that are used, like farmed animals. I'm glad you said that now. I never thought of that one before.
And even the words that we might choose doesn't necessarily convey their experience, because we can never be in their experience, really. We can't we can't put ourselves in their shoes to know what it's like for them. So again, we're still imposing our own language, but at least we're breaking down that we're being political with our language and challenging normalization of euphemisms and all this language that trivializes our fellow animals' experience and all the horrors that they're going through and the oppression. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, language is important, and trying to get, if you use too much language that loses people, you really need to try and connect with people. Maybe look at different people, what will resonate with them, and tie in that thing. And certainly language is important, and how we use words, and try and get that message across. So we are, I suppose, we are their voice, so it's them. So we're kind of putting, we're saying even as activists, we're saying we're different, even though we want to be on the animal side or with them. I remember you had that in the show here one night. You were talking about what you refer to the other animals as, what is the word? I forget what the resolution was. I can't remember how you resolved that one, but those things are something that we should discuss ourselves, and before we start sending the message out, that we have something that will resonate with the public and get right through into their hearts and minds. That's who we have to change. That's where the change has to come. Calling for bans and and just saying something is terrible isn't going to work. We need to explain it and get right down into their psyche, whatever that is. And however, there's probably more research needed by ourselves on how to do that.
Well, there is Unlearning Speciesist Language page on Facebook for people to explore those kind of ideas, because it's in some ways it's a kind of balancing act, and you've got to be careful, because I despair the number of vegans who will still use industry terms like livestock and meat, whereas we should challenge those. And I think those are the kind of people who also say, oh, don't use phrases like animal rights, it's too complicated, use animal. So I think they tend to underestimate the intelligence of the people and the people that they're talking to. Oh, they can't understand complicated concepts like rights. Well, that's never been my experience. And if you do use our kind of language, our fellow animals and this kind of thing, it doesn't phase people too much. And if they want to ask you, what do you mean by that? We just explain that, part of advocacy is changing language. It's been the same for social movements for generations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have to decide what's the best word to use and get that word out there as if it's, that it's just so recognizable. And that's how they do it with advertising and marketing. They pick, coined phrases and make them stick so that they really get into people's minds and heads. And just what we have is so perfect. It doesn't need to be embellished, and it doesn't need to be, sold as a kind of a light version of veganism. It's just the more you realize it, and the more I realize it, it is the answer to an awful lot of things. I mean, we find people on the street say to us, "Oh, there's a lot more wrong with the world now than animals," and then you start that actually you're talking to somebody who's reasonable there, and they're just that's actually the way they think. So you can actually have a chat with them and kind of get your message across about what animal rights is and what veganism is, and without it, frightening them off, because they are actually thinking at this stage in terms of the leaflet that you put in their hands. And we had a demo going on in Westmoreland Street in Dublin over the winter. Just the wonderful activists that we have in Dublin, yourself included, Roger, and Linda, and Bernie and Susie mostly, and then lots of other people came in, and thank everybody. But there was developments made there where people came along to collect the flyers. They didn't, it wasn't just one thrust into their hands. That's kind of their choice. It's like picking up the information rather than the information being forced on them. So maybe that kind of works as well. Everything and anything that will get the message across is valid and is to be welcomed.
Do you have,
we met four vegans on Saturday in Westmoreland Street, which was quite nice. And so somebody been vegan for I think they're all been vegan for about 10 years. One person, I think they were from Latvia, said that their particular city had 8 vegan restaurants. So they were interested in the the dietary side of things. But yeah, it gives you a bit of a boost when you meet vegans on the street in that sense.
Since we are on the topic of language and messages, how have you been treated by mainstream media as a party? I mean, until now, what's your experience? And when they do ask questions, do you think that they are confused by the language? Do they need for clarifications? Do they have their own assumptions that are wrong? What's the the game with the media and the journalists?
Yeah, we have found friends in certain areas. It could be in newsprint, it could be in radio, where and also in television, where the people themselves are vegan or vegetarian or some way veggie, they're on the veggie spectrum, are just happy enough to see this as what it is. It's quite good. So we have got the term animal rights into a local newspaper here in Galway, a very ambitious and a very brave journalist. And they didn't talk about us disparagingly. It was a nice article. It was a small article, but it said these people want animals never to be used again. Talking in that kind of language. Sometimes you get a little bit of hostility by interviewers on the radio, and something that start off by saying, "Well, I tried to go vegan once and I couldn't cope with the diet." So you're in for a battle of wits for that interview anyway. And then maybe you find something like the producers themselves or one of the researchers is vegan, and so you're going to get on the show, and it's up to yourself then to see what you can do about it. If it's a live interview, anything can be thrown at you, and it's you can't have everything covered. What you prepare for beforehand. A lot of radio shows are, you have less than a half an hour to get ready for them. It's kind of almost instant. Whereas with newsprint, if you can get a newsprint journalist, you have time to think, and they'll arrange an interview with you. So we have been successful. We keep sending out our message. We have a PR office, a wonderful person working in there, Roisin Baggett, and we send out press releases every time we do something. How many stick? Well, it's the 1 in 100 is what we're looking for, but we are beginning to find out where our friends are and who's willing to get it out. Talking to long-term journalists, they said as time went on, it was harder even to get animal welfare stories into newspapers and tell the truth, because the industry in Ireland is so big and it's so powerful that this editorial thing, the amount of money spent on advertising, that would be used to beat up the editor, and to blackmail them and say, look, if you print something about animal rights, we're going to pull our advertising. So there's that battle going on as well. We have to be aware that there's the battle or the war is going on everywhere. It's relentless, really.
Denis, actually, that kind of leads me on to a question that I've got. And am I allowed to blend 2 questions? Do you mind if I blend 2 questions? I've just wondered what a typical day looks like in the life of running a political party. Like, well, how does it look running a political party? And then my other question is, like, what are your kind of current and imminent projects around what you're wanting to do and to achieve?
Yeah. Thank you. Oh,
hello. This is Fantail. Hey, Fantail.
Yeah, a good deal is around social media, and we had been building up into our main WhatsApp group, which was called the Focus Group. So we're starting to go to regionalisation, which is very much apt for a political party in that politics are local, and we're looking. We ran 6 candidates in the local election in 2024, and we took all the learnings from that. So that's what we're working with now. So we have a Dublin WhatsApp group, and we have a Donegal WhatsApp group. We're going to all the other regions where we have enough people. It'll be very concentrated, but where we're kind of thin on the ground, it'll be a general area, like say North or Northwest or something like that. And that's kind of where we're heading at the moment. We have the Animal Rights Road campaign, which is what we do from around April right out to October. Over the last 2 years, we visited every county in Ireland, the main town there. And I'd say we probably were the first people ever, to be handing out flyers about animal rights. And it was interesting to see the reactions of some people. It was quite new and novel to them, and you knew that there's a great tale going there. You knew that when you were talking to them, that it was a total new idea for them. But people are receptive. I think if your delivery is cheerful, if you're not there protesting, you're not with a big megaphone with an angry head on you, walking up and down the main street, blocking traffic. There on the footpath, you're courteous, you're not blocking the way. I think that really works as well, that you blend in, and you're not in a situation where there's confrontation. You're just having a chat with whoever wants to stop and talk, and I do think that works. So that's it. It's social media, but you need to get out on the street. That's where you meet people, really. And the overall plan again is to build up for the next elections in 2029. That's what we're looking towards now, and to become a force to be reckoned with. So that's what we're going to work at for the next few years.
Excellent. Sorry, she's very distracting.
She's lovely.
She's lovely. She's definitely. Would you recommend?
My favorite.
Oh, did you hear that, Fanta? Brian, close your ears and pickle. Would you recommend people? Do you recommend this line of that you've taken with the political party? Do you think, like, for example, in the UK? I know there are political parties in the UK, but and I did an interview with, I think, James Smith from the Animal Welfare Party, and she was very adamant about how actually they're all very much animal rights, although they are called the Animal Welfare Party for reasons that she does explain on the podcast. But do you recommend do you recommend that this is a good way forward in terms of what you've been saying about getting out there, getting more press coverage, having that kind of access to different people, perhaps?
I do, yeah, and certainly with the rise of veganism, that's our ally. That's where the grassroots people are changing. People are going vegan, or even if plant-based, if it's for the climate or for their health, they're our allies. And anybody on the veggie spectrum, anyone connected with anything to do with an animal, they're the people that will vote for you. Because they're desperate. Everybody that's involved in animal activism one way or another, they know that the law isn't being carried out. So really it has to be total abolition. That word is quite strong, and it frightens a lot of people, but that's where we're headed, and that's what has to happen. We have on our social media, we have people from the UK. That's quite a sizable amount of people join us. So much so that we have an overseas section in our spreadsheet, and we have people from the UK, Scotland, America, different countries in Europe, as far out as Malaysia and the Philippines. And these are people who are picking us up on social media, and they're more than welcome. South Africa as well. And some of them actually join us and become party members. They're called overseas residents. That's how we designate it on the spreadsheet. So I think they like the idea that we're sending out a consistent message of animal rights. We're not trying to call it something else, Justice or the Party for the Animals. This is an animal rights party. It's about sentient rights, and it's for people and it's for climate. We have the three up front, and that's what we're doing unashamedly. And we're not overstating the case. We don't need to do that, and we're not doing a light version of anything either. We're being quite robust about it, and I would say forthright. And I think people are respecting that, and to say, I love your page, I love what you're saying, and we try and keep it to animal rights. Sometimes you do slip, it's very easy to slip back into welfare, even in your thinking, and it's a safe place to be, but it's no good for animals. I mean, it has to be animal rights. There is no other alternative, and I think we need to use the rise of veganism more and more. That's happening one at a time, where animal rights could be seen as systemic, bringing about a systemic change, which, when we have enough of people, we will be able to do that.
I just wonder if you, sorry if I feel like I'm asking all the questions. Please jump in, anyone who's got more questions. I just keep getting the next one in my head. I just wondered what your kind of interactions are with other local government councils, other parties, what that kind of relationship is like with you being so, very much, like you said, unashamedly abolition, animal rights.
They have respect for us because they know our message. And I also work in climate. I worked with One Future here. They're connected to Friends of the Earth. And this was in the build-up to the big climate bill here in 2021. So I got to know some of the elected representatives who still are there on the next term. We're in the second term now in my time as an activism. And once they get to know you, and they know you as an individual, and that you're not abusive, that you will have a chat with them. They're human beings as well. They will listen to you, and they will. If you build up your relationship with your local representatives, they just might be councillors this year. In 4 years' time, they might be in the Parliament. And when they're in the Parliament, if things fall well for them, they could actually become into a ministry. The trick for getting an audience is that's the hard part, the lobbying, to get your foot in the door, the sales part of it. But 5 minutes with a minister is worth an awful lot of social media time. It's worth an awful lot of street time, and that's all you need to get in there. And we did a campaign here. I did it myself for a bus. I live on top of a hill, and there was a bus here when I moved in 2012, and then it disappeared. So everybody here, you're walking up and down the hill, and lots of people might say to you, would you carry my parcels for me? So we really need a bus. So we did a bus campaign. 3 buses turn left at the bottom of the road, and terminus back there, and it's all on the flat. And in that way, I got to know local TDs, independent TDs. One of them is now a junior minister in the Department of Agriculture. So in the lobbying we're going to do for transformation, I already have a relationship with him. So these are the things that I would say to any activist: contact your local representatives, get them to know you, to know who you are, and be reasonable with them and be forthright, and they will respect that. And it's to get in that door, to be able to get that audience time. That's what you need, and get your message across. Everybody is open to advocacy. There's no question about that. And you can always turn anybody if you get them at the right time, just a little bit off balance. And we have loads of things going for us. It's rights, it's climate, it's health, it's everything. There's so much that's on our side. It's such a perfect vision of what we have for the world. They used to say about utopia and things like that. But we're not selling something that's not possible. We're advocating for something that is really achievable. And I think that has been the problem, that people didn't think animal rights was ever achievable, and so we'll try a bit of welfare here and do the best we can. I don't subscribe to that. I think animal rights is the thing that we should advocate for, and it's the thing that we should push and push and push at as more of a collective, and try and bring more of our colleagues who are into welfare or rescue or anything else bring them in with us and try and get them to work with us. I feel we should work on them as well. That's my sincere belief. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be doing this.
Deb saying your positive attitude is inspiring, Denis.
Well, I'm very
really
thankful.
Do you have a way to know what your voters are? Obviously, they cannot be only vegans. So do you think that the party is supported by welfarist people, or what we call the cats and dogs people, or even disappointed people disappointed from other parties? What's the core of your vote?
We ally ourselves. We everybody is an ally, and it's a case by case basis. But I think when you put yourself up for election, anybody they may not be vegan, they will vote for you anyway if they care about animals, or they're connected, they're in rescue, or if they're involved in cat rescue or dog rescue. They know that you're going to fight for animals, so you will get votes there as well. And the main thing we were using it for wasn't just to get votes, because you have to manage your expectations when you stand for election. I've seen people being so, upset because they thought they were going to do very well and then they didn't, and they felt humiliated. And that's not the case. What you're doing is building awareness. You're getting that word out there, and you're getting the name of the group out there. And that's what the ambition has to be, is to build awareness in the general public. And with other groups, we reach out to other groups all the time. And I work here in Galway with Extinction Rebellion, Animal Rebellion, One Future. We work with PPS. This is done through the county councils. We'll sit in on webinars and just, get our message across quietly. And it all helps. It's building up contacts. That's what you have to do, and that's the way to go. And rather than standing on a street with a big megaphone, being angry and upset about it, and of course we are upset and angry, but you turn all that into positive energy, and people are more likely to talk to you on the street if you're positive and upbeat about it. Have a cup of coffee and get some energy into you. That's what I do before a demo, anyway.
Fueled by caffeine. Is that right, Denis?
Plant power.
Plant power. Oh, no, that's brilliant. I do love this positivity, and you're so sort of unapologetic about your message and the abolitionism and the veganism. Not light. You said a few times, we're not doing vegan light. I love that phrase. I've never heard that before. Vegan light. Yeah, there's a lot of vegan light out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Low fat vegans or whatever. I don't know, low fat veganism, but definitely it's not what we
Let's
need.
call it plant-based, something that won't upset people.
Now, what about the time there, Wendy?
Oh, wow, that went quick, didn't it?
It did,
Yes.
Yeah. Are you okay for a little while, or?
I could probably just do another 5 minutes. I probably have to shoot after that.
Okay. Nella, you got anything else?
Oh yes, I have.
Oh, good.
I'm not. Yeah.
We could probably keep going for another 3 hours, my Nuzlot, if we.
I don't know how the political life of Ireland. So, do you think that Sentient Rights Ireland is a household name? Do you think that most Irish citizens, when they talk about an upcoming election, for example, they list the party among the other parties? Do you think that younger and quite old people are aware of the existence of this particular political party?
No, I don't think we're well known at all. I think we would be very much on the unknown side. But that's there are a lot of. I mean, there's only one animal rights party in Ireland, and that's us. There's nobody else pushing that one. But we're getting our banner out now. We have 3 constant demos going. This is with the 8-foot Sentient Rights banner that we all had hand in developing, and we're using the vegan colors, green, white and blue all the time. So it's appearing on the streets once a week for the most part in 3 different areas now. And we're going to try and extend that. We're also running out tasting tables. This is tasting vegan foods. And we have an offer from local suppliers. We were just going down to we trialed it last year in Galway. I had never done anything like that, the tasting tables. We just ran down to Aldi or Lidl and got some crackers and cheese. But then we got an offer from a vegan food supplier here in Ireland who would give us product. And that's what we're doing. So we're supporting local industry now. And I think that's the message to get across, that you are supporting local industry, that it's not something that's alien to the country. We're looking at every possible connection we can and to try and bring it on that way. It was interesting to note that the revolutionaries in the early part of the 20th century were checking out vegetarianism, which was, at that time would have been similar to our proto-veganism. And so we use that every now and again, not that we're trying to promote physical force, that's not what we're about. So where the proclamation for the revolution of 1916 was signed was in the farm produce restaurant or cafe on Henry Street, and there's a plaque up to that now. So this is trying to make veganism Irish, if you like. So everything is fair, and everything that you can bring into it to make it more desirable. I think that's important as well.
Great.
So it's certainly in recognition. We're not that well known. No, we wouldn't be, but it is becoming more and more, and we intend to make it undeniable that people just will know we're here, and we're getting a lot of support from a lot of other groups, and our members come from a diverse range of ages, social backgrounds, and different advocacy that they're involved in. Everything from direct action to animal rescue, and we're very happy with that. We're making friends everywhere, and that's the idea. That's the whole plan. So it's all in the future.
The future is Irish.
The future for you will be bright, because with all this positive, all this positive energy, and this intention to really work with people and support our causes, support their causes, and make known what you represent. I think the party will be a household name soon enough.
Thank you for that recommendation. That's great. Nella, thank you. Well, I'm thankful and happy to have had the opportunity to talk here on the Animal Rights Show, and thanks to Roger and to Wendy to give me the opportunity and get our name out there. I'm aware of this because I tune into the show myself when I can, or as often as I can. The people are coming from all over the world, and it'd be lovely to see a Sentient Rights Party somewhere else. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, no, it sounds really great.
You got a question here, Denis. When we'll be able to vote in the elections? So when will you be next standing for things, as it were?
In Ireland, the next round of elections are in 2029, bar a by-election. So the scheduled election is 2029 local government, and they're turning up now on the same year. That's local government, and then you have European government and Parliament elections are on. They have to be within 5 years, so they either do it the following year or in the same year, one at the beginning of the year and the other later on.
Yeah, so that's 4 years. 4 years away, Denis. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a 5-year cycle. The last elections were 2024, just passed. So yeah, that's our marker. That's what we're looking for. That's where we're looking to, I should say.
Okay, and that gives you a lot of time to prepare for the next election.
Yes, well, I mean, the years pass very fast, and we're already heading into May here. We're looking at June. That's halfway through the year, and time does fly. We are busy, and we have our plans laid out for what we want. Constant campaigning up to then, getting the word out, and this regionalisation that we're just beginning to roll out with our members. Everybody is very receptive. People are looking to be active. You know, the idea of having a big group where there's just 2 or 3 people talking it, I don't think that's beneficial to everybody. Boredom sets in. You need to be doing. You need to be active, and I think that's what we have to get with the timeline as well. Try and push the welfare back a bit and get more animal rights talk out there, regardless of what we call it, whether it's veganism or sentient. Make the conversation about rights. That's where the noise has to come from. And
you've been asked about council elections, Denis.
County council elections, they're in 2029, 5 years from 2024. It's a 5-year cycle.
All right, so that was what you talked about before. Okay, so yeah, that's you.
And how can people support you other than voting, Denis? Is there a way that people can support what you do other than, you know, all the voting stuff?
Well, we're open for donations. We're open for people joining. You can join as an overseas resident, and we're read our literature, spread our literature. We can send flyers to people either physically or electronically, and keep us informed what's happening in your area. We love to get local news, local stories about things that we can feature. We have people who send us in ideas for posting, and we go through that. And we're going to get back to the webinars as well. Hopefully the last quarter of this year, we'll try and get back into them as well. We had 2 great years of webinars, and we've attracted a lot of great speakers. And we're very happy. They're up on YouTube and this Sentient Rights Ireland YouTube channel. And that's getting a lot of hits. And we've covered a wide variety of topics from animal rights, veganism, wellness, rewilding, vegan rewilding. There's a vegan rewilding project here in Ireland in County Meath. Randall Plunkett is his name. He's taken half he's a lord. He's taken half his estate, 300 hectares or 350 hectares. He didn't plant anything. He just let it happen. It's a vegan project. There's no hunting on the land. There's no farming on the land. And it's turning into something really, really magical.
So people who want to support the party and others who are not Irish citizens and want to be inspired by what you do, you know, maybe use the party as an example and create a party for the animals in other countries, where they can find the info about animal rights, Sentient Rights Ireland.
So our email is info@sentientrightsIreland.ie, and our website is www.sentientrightsIreland.ie, and we welcome communication. We're on all the social media platforms. We're on Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter X. We're on also the Blue Sky one, but there's not a lot happening there. We're on TikTok, and we will try and get we will answer the emails, and you can come in through the website as well. There's a way for giving a message there, and we're doing updates on that. We're in the process of changing. We're also looking for help as well. If somebody has tech experience, or they'd like to be an admin, or they want to work in our e-office, we have people. For example, our petition writer is based in New York State, and people can work from home if you're doing e-work. So if you're working online, where you live is not a barrier. Anybody can work with us, and we have people. We have somebody in New Zealand working for us as well. They're originally from India. They're just based in New Zealand at the moment. So where you live is not a barrier. Anybody can work with us, or work. This is as a volunteer, We are worldwide, and we accept people from everywhere and anywhere. We just love good people. We just love animal rights people.
Don't we all?
Yeah, who doesn't?
Say New York Wednesday. Oh, damn. You know what? Philip was in Boston today. I don't know if Philip's still here, but he's tuning in from Boston. So I thought, oh, I haven't got to say the
No, I
words
think
today. But no,
you did that on purpose to ruin your catchphrase, Wendy.
no, definitely making me say it. Damn. New York.
Okay. Can't you say Boston in a weird way? So,
Boston.
Denis, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Roger.
We thought it was going to be terrible, but it's actually really been good. So,
Denis, don't listen to the duckies.
I'll get over my embarrassment and listen back at some stage.
And thanks for everybody for staying with us. So thanks very much.
You know what? We had quite a lot of people watching, but we only got 2 likes. No one pressed the like. We kept saying, Joanna kept saying, please press the like, everyone. No one did.
You need Andy
Why
here
is no
to
one
keep
pressing the like?
smash.
Can we just press the likes now while you're still here? While we're still here, can people just?
You might have to refresh to see the likes though.
Oh, do you?
If you're
Okay.
thinking about
we just
YouTube.
got a little heart. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, whoever that was.
Yeah,
Appreciate
that could be
it. Especially Fantail. I mean, come on.
Fantail.
How can you not like this little love here?
What's her name?
Fantail.
Oh,
Actually, her official name is Elsa, but I don't think I've ever called her Elsa ever.
No one uses it.
No, she just used to have the most long strands coming out of her tail that it looked like a really big fan. She doesn't really have them that long now, but the name stuck, so she's Fantail.
Dark and mysterious.
She's she's a magical person. She is very, very special.
And the proper witch's cat. So.
Yeah, she's definitely is a witch's cat, aren't you? Very wily, very, very wise.
Well, I've got my finger poised to press the button, but do you want to just carry on chatting or what?
I'd love to.
Don't press the lead.
Bye. Denis, thank you so much, Denis. It's been really great. It's such a pleasure, and your positivity is shining. Keep shining, Denis.
Well, I feel it's a privilege. I'm usually in the audience watching you, and it's a privilege to be up here with you. It's fantastic. And hi to everybody.
It was really nice having you as a guest. Really, really nice.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
It was lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey, this is like the 1960s loving type stuff.
It's not the Waltons, isn't it? Good night, Denis. Good night, Roger. Night, Denis.
Right, well, goodbye, everyone.
Till the next time.